Understand this, and wealth stops feeling like a matter of luck, timing, or privilege. It stops feeling distant, selective, or reserved for a different kind of person. Wealth becomes inevitable not because life becomes easy, but because your actions finally align with how wealth is actually created. Most people believe wealth is something you reach one day, a destination, a finish line. They imagine a moment in the future where stress disappears, choices expand, and money finally works for them. And because they believe it's something far away, they behave as if it's fragile, rare, and external. That belief is the real barrier. Wealth is not created by force. It's created by alignment. And alignment is not mysterious. It's not hidden. It's just rarely explained clearly. This audiobook is not about motivation. It's not about hustle, shortcuts, or pretending everyone can become rich overnight. It's about understanding one core truth that quietly governs every wealthy individual you've ever heard of and thousands you've never heard of. When that truth is understood, wealth stops being something you chase. It becomes something you build, layer by layer, almost predictably. Across 9 sessions, we'll unpack this truth slowly. Each session builds on the last. Each one removes a misconception that keeps people stuck in cycles of effort without progress. And throughout, we'll ground these ideas in real people, real decisions, and real outcomes, so this never feels abstract. Listen carefully, not because this is complex, but because simplicity is often what the mind resists most. Now let's begin. Wealth does not begin with money. It begins with usefulness. This is where nearly everyone goes wrong. They believe wealth comes from income, or savings, or investment knowledge, or being in the right place at the right time. Those things can accelerate wealth, but they do not create it. They only amplify what already exists. Wealth is the accumulated result of being consistently useful in ways that scale. Think about that for a moment. Not helpful, not hardworking, useful. Consider someone like Oprah Winfrey. She did not become wealthy because she wanted money badly or worked harder than everyone else. She became wealthy because she learned how to communicate in a way that millions of people found emotionally useful. Her wealth is not tied to hours worked. It's tied to the depth and reach of her usefulness. Now contrast that with someone who works tirelessly at a job that solves the same small problem for the same limited group of people every day. They may be essential, they may be respected, but their usefulness is capped, and so is their wealth. This is not a moral judgment. It's a structural one. Wealth follows usefulness the way a shadow follows form. Look at someone like Elon Musk. His wealth didn't come from inventing everything himself. It came from identifying problems that affected large systems, transportation, energy, communication, and aligning resources to solve them at scale. Whether people admire or criticize him is irrelevant. The pattern remains the same. Large-scale usefulness creates inevitable wealth. On a smaller scale, the pattern doesn't change. Think of a local mechanic who builds a reputation for honesty and skill. At first, income is limited, one customer at a time. But over years, trust compounds. People recommend him. He hires others. He opens another location. Eventually, his usefulness is no longer tied to his hands alone. Wealth begins to appear not suddenly, but inevitably. The mistake most people make is tying usefulness to effort instead of outcome. They say, I work hard, but the world does not pay for hard work. It pays for problems removed, pain reduced, desires fulfilled, time saved, risk lowered. Wealth is simply proof that usefulness has been delivered consistently, clearly, and at scale. This is why so many intelligent, hardworking people never become wealthy. Their usefulness is real, but trapped. It's hidden inside systems that don't allow it to expand, or it's applied to problems that are too small, too crowded, or too easily replaced. Now here's the uncomfortable part. Being useful requires humility. It requires you to ask, what do people actually need, instead of what do I want to do? It requires you to observe reality instead of arguing with it. And most people resist this because it feels like giving up control. But those who build wealth understand something critical early on. Usefulness is a skill you can refine. Jeff Bezos didn't invent online shopping. He noticed that convenience was becoming increasingly valuable as life sped up. He aligned his efforts with that usefulness relentlessly. Everything else followed. Even in everyday life, you see this principle quietly at work. The colleague who becomes indispensable doesn't do so by working longer hours. They do it by solving the problems others avoid. The freelancer who earns more doesn't do so by charging more randomly. They do it by becoming easier to rely on, easier to trust, easier to recommend. Wealth grows where friction disappears. This session is not asking you to become someone else. It's asking you to see yourself differently, to stop measuring your value by how busy you are and start measuring it by how replaceable you are. If you were removed from your current role, how difficult would it be to replace what you actually contribute? That question is not meant to discourage you. It's meant to orient you, because once you see where your usefulness is capped, you also see exactly where it can expand. And when usefulness expands in the right direction, wealth does not need motivation. It follows naturally. Sit with this idea. Don't rush it. Let it challenge you quietly. Because in the next session, we'll look at why many people become useful but still never become wealthy, and how leverage determines whether usefulness compounds or stays stuck. Many people become genuinely useful and still never become wealthy, and this is where confusion sets in. They did what they were told. They developed skills. They showed up consistently. They solved real problems. Yet money still feels capped, fragile, or tightly linked to time and effort. This isn't because usefulness failed them. It's because usefulness without leverage eventually hits a ceiling. Leverage is the force that allows the same usefulness to create more impact without requiring more of your physical presence. Without leverage, usefulness turns into a trap. Think about a school teacher who changes lives every day. Their usefulness is undeniable. Students remember them decades later, but their income is limited by hours, classrooms, and institutional structures. Their usefulness is real, but it doesn't scale. Now compare that to someone like Salman Khan, the founder of Khan Academy. He started the same way, teaching one person at a time. But instead of stopping there, he recorded lessons. Suddenly, one explanation reached thousands, then millions. His usefulness didn't change. The delivery mechanism did. Leverage entered the picture. This is where wealth begins to separate people. Leverage simply means this. How many times can your value be multiplied without repeating the same effort? People often misunderstand leverage and assume it only means money investing or hiring employees. Those are forms of leverage, but not the foundation. The foundation is repeatability. If what you do must be recreated from scratch every time, wealth will always feel exhausting. If what you do can be reused, distributed, or automated, wealth starts to feel inevitable. Consider an author. Writing a book may take years, but once written, it can be sold endlessly. The same ideas create value again and again. That's leverage. Compare that to someone giving one-on-one advice for the same fee. Useful, yes. Scalable, no. This doesn't mean one path is better morally. It means one path has a different financial outcome. Look at software engineers who build tools instead of only offering services. The tool does the work repeatedly. Customers pay without requiring the creator's constant presence. Wealth flows not because the creator works more, but because the system works for them. Now here's the critical shift most people resist. Leverage requires delayed gratification. At first, leverage paths often pay less. Recording content, building systems, writing, creating products. These require effort up front with little immediate reward. Meanwhile, direct labor pays instantly. And because humans are wired for short-term certainty, many choose the path that feels safer in the moment. But safety is deceptive. The person trading time for money feels stable until they stop working. The person building leverage feels uncertain until the system starts working. One path feels calm now and stressful later. The other feels stressful now and calm later. Wealth chooses the second path. Think of YouTubers, podcasters, or educators who spent years creating content before earning anything meaningful. At the beginning, they looked foolish. Later, they look lucky. But luck had nothing to do with it. Leverage did. Even within traditional jobs, leverage exists. The employee who documents processes, builds training systems, or becomes the point of coordination gains influence that outlives their hours. They become harder to replace. Their leverage increases even if their title doesn't change immediately. Another form of leverage is decision-making authority. Managers don't earn more because they work harder. They earn more because their decisions affect more outcomes. One decision impacts many people. That's leverage. The wealthy understand this instinctively. They ask, how can this effort live beyond today? The struggling ask, how can I get paid now? This difference compounds quietly. There's also emotional resistance to leverage. It feels like risk. It feels like uncertainty. It feels like giving up control. But in reality, leverage is how control is gained long-term. When your income depends entirely on your presence, you are controlled by time. When systems carry your value forward, time begins working for you. This session isn't telling you to abandon what you do. It's asking you to notice whether your usefulness is locked to your hours or freed by structure. Wealth is not created by working harder. It's created by allowing your usefulness to travel farther than you can physically go. And until leverage enters the picture, usefulness alone will always feel like pushing a heavy object uphill. In the next session, we'll go deeper into why identity, not skill or opportunity, often determines who builds leverage and who unconsciously avoids it. Even when people understand usefulness and leverage, many still hesitate at the edge of real wealth. They see the path clearly, yet something pulls them back. They delay. They overthink. They stay smaller than their potential. And from the outside, it looks like a lack of discipline or courage. But underneath, the real issue is identity. People do not rise to the level of their goals. They fall back to the level of their self-image. Wealth challenges identity because it changes how visible you are, how responsible you become, and how exposed your decisions feel. And most people are unconsciously loyal to an older version of themselves that feels familiar, even if it's limiting. Think about someone who grew up believing money is scarce, that wealthy people are greedy, or that success always comes with loss. Even if they intellectually reject those ideas, they often still act them out. When opportunities arise, they feel discomfort. When income increases, they self-sabotage. When responsibility expands, they shrink. Not because they are lazy, because wealth would contradict who they believe they are allowed to be. Consider the example of Mike Tyson. When he rose rapidly to wealth and fame, his identity had not matured at the same pace. The money arrived before the internal structure to hold it. The result was chaos, loss, and collapse. Wealth didn't ruin him. Misaligned identity did. Now contrast that with someone like Warren Buffett. His identity has remained consistent for decades. He never tried to become someone wealthier than he could psychologically manage. His lifestyle, habits, and values aligned with his self-image. That internal stability allowed wealth to accumulate without destroying him. Identity determines what you allow yourself to keep. This is why some people earn a large sum once and lose it quickly, while others grow steadily over decades. One sees money as temporary and fragile. The other sees it as normal and manageable. The most dangerous belief is not, I can't be wealthy. It's people like me don't live that way. That belief quietly governs decisions. It influences how much risk feels acceptable, how much responsibility feels tolerable, and how much success feels safe. Wealth requires you to expand your identity before the money arrives. Otherwise, when it comes, you'll unconsciously push it away. This doesn't mean pretending to be rich or adopting external symbols. It means normalizing higher levels of responsibility, visibility, and long-term thinking in your mind first. Look at people who successfully transition from modest beginnings to great wealth. They didn't wake up wealthy one day and adjust later. Their thinking expanded first. They became comfortable making bigger decisions, managing uncertainty, and being judged. Even in everyday settings, you see this pattern. An employee who starts thinking like an owner behaves differently long before their paycheck changes. They consider outcomes, not tasks. They think in systems, not instructions. Over time, opportunities align with that identity shift. Identity is not about confidence. It's about permission. Do you give yourself permission to grow beyond what's familiar? Do you allow yourself to handle more without guilt? Do you believe success must cost you something essential? Wealth tests identity constantly. It forces you to choose between staying comfortable and becoming capable. The irony is that most people wait for money to change how they see themselves. But wealth waits for the opposite. Until identity expands, leverage feels risky. Focus feels restrictive. Patience feels unbearable. Detachment feels unnatural. But once identity adjusts, everything else becomes easier. This session isn't asking you to judge your past. It's asking you to notice what version of yourself you're protecting. Because the ceiling of your wealth is rarely determined by opportunity. It's determined by what you feel you're allowed to sustain. In the next session, we'll explore focus, why scattered effort keeps people poor even when they're talented, and why wealth often comes from doing fewer things with extreme clarity. Once identity expands, the next obstacle quietly appears: dispersion. Many people with potential, skill, and even leverage still struggle financially because their energy is spread in too many directions. They confuse opportunity with obligation and motion with progress. Wealth is built through concentration. Focus is not about doing more. It's about removing everything that doesn't compound. And this is far harder than it sounds because distraction often feels productive. Think about someone who is talented in many areas. They freelance, start side projects, take courses, explore ideas, chase trends. From the outside, they look ambitious. From the inside, they feel exhausted. Nothing grows large enough to carry weight because nothing is allowed to mature. Now compare that to someone like Steve Jobs. He was not the most technically skilled engineer at Apple, but he was obsessive about focus. He cut products, simplified offerings, and eliminated distractions relentlessly. Apple's success didn't come from doing everything. It came from doing a few things exceptionally well. Wealth behaves the same way. Scattered effort dilutes usefulness. Focused effort sharpens it. Most people underestimate how much value is created by staying with one direction long enough to see it clearly. Depth creates insight. Insight creates efficiency. Efficiency creates leverage. But focus requires saying no, and saying no feels like loss. You say no to alternative paths. You say no to immediate income sometimes. You say no to validation. And because humans fear missing out, they avoid commitment. They keep options open. But open options come at a cost. Nothing compounds. Wealth grows where attention stays. Consider a real-life example. An entrepreneur who opens 3 small businesses at once. None receive full attention. All struggle. Contrast that with someone who builds one business, stabilizes it, systems it, and then expands. Same effort, completely different outcome. Even in investing, focus matters. People who chase every opportunity rarely outperform those who stick to a clear strategy. The focused investor understands what they're doing deeply. The scattered investor reacts emotionally. Focus also simplifies decision-making. When direction is clear, choices become easier. Distractions lose power. You stop reacting to every new idea and start measuring everything against a single objective. This is why wealth often looks boring from the outside. Repetition, refinement, consistency. There's no drama, just alignment over time. Another overlooked aspect of focus is simplicity. Complexity creates friction. Friction slows money. The clearer and simpler your value proposition is, the faster people understand it, trust it, and engage with it. Think about businesses that explain themselves in one sentence. Those scale faster than ones that require long explanations. Clarity travels. Confusion stalls. This session isn't telling you to limit yourself forever. It's telling you to commit long enough for results to become inevitable. Focus creates inevitability. Once direction is locked in, effort compounds instead of resetting. You stop starting over. You stop being a beginner again and again. You move past the hardest stage, uncertainty. Wealth rewards those who stay. In the next session, we'll talk about patience, not waiting, but staying consistent long enough for compounding to take effect, and why most people quit just before wealth begins to show itself. After focus comes the test. Most people fail without realizing it. Patience. Not the passive kind where you wait and hope, but the disciplined kind where you continue showing up even when there is no visible reward. Wealth operates on delayed feedback. This is deeply uncomfortable for the human mind. We are wired to expect immediate results. When effort does not quickly translate into reward, doubt creeps in. People begin to question their direction, their ability, and the value of what they are building. And right at that moment, many abandon paths that were about to compound. Patience is what keeps value alive long enough to mature. Look at someone like J.K. Rowling. Her success appears sudden in hindsight, but it was built on years of rejection, uncertainty, and persistence. The world didn't reward her effort immediately, but when alignment finally clicked, story, timing, audience, wealth followed explosively. This pattern repeats everywhere. Businesses struggle for years before finding product market fit. Investors endure long periods of flat or negative returns before compounding accelerates. Creators publish content to silence before attention arrives. In each case, patience is not waiting. It's enduring consistency without reassurance. The problem is that society celebrates outcomes, not process. We see the success, not the years of alignment that preceded it. So when our own progress feels slow, we assume something is wrong. But slow growth is often a sign that foundations are being built. Impatience causes premature optimization. People tweak endlessly, pivot constantly, or chase shortcuts instead of allowing systems to stabilize. They mistake motion for progress and novelty for improvement. Wealth is not built by constant change. It is built by thoughtful persistence. Another subtle cost of impatience is emotional volatility. When people expect fast results, every small setback feels devastating. Every delay feels personal. This emotional swing leads to inconsistent behavior, and inconsistency kills compounding. Compounding requires calm. Think about long-term investors. Those who succeed are not the most reactive. They're the most steady. They understand that time does the heavy lifting, but only if they stay in position. Patience also sharpens judgment. When you slow down, you make better decisions. You stop chasing every opportunity and start choosing intentionally. You learn to distinguish between noise and signal. This is why wealthy individuals often appear unhurried. It's not laziness. It's perspective. They understand that forcing outcomes often destroys the very thing they're trying to build. There's also a humility in patience. It accepts that learning takes time. That mastery is earned through repetition. That trust is built gradually. Most people want the rewards of mastery without enduring the boredom of practice. Wealth does not reward impatience disguised as ambition. It rewards alignment sustained over time. This session is a reminder that if you've chosen a direction carefully, the worst thing you can do is abandon it too early. The early phase is always the hardest because there is nothing to lean on but belief and discipline. Patience is not a weakness. It is a financial advantage. In the next session, we'll explore detachment, why clinging too tightly to money, outcomes, or control actually slows wealth, and how letting go changes your relationship with growth. As patience develops, another challenge quietly emerges: attachment. Many people believe wanting wealth badly is what drives it closer. In reality, the opposite is often true. The tighter you cling to outcomes, the more constrained your decisions become. Wealth grows best in environments where pressure is low and clarity is high. Attachment creates pressure. It turns money into an emotional scoreboard. Every gain feels like relief. Every loss feels like danger. And when decisions are driven by emotional survival, long-term thinking disappears. Think about people who panic during market downturns. They sell at the worst possible time, not because logic tells them to, but because attachment makes loss feel unbearable. The same pattern plays out in business, careers, and creative work. Detachment is not lack of ambition. It is emotional neutrality. When you are detached, you can evaluate reality honestly. You can change course without ego. You can walk away from poor opportunities without fear. And you can commit fully to good ones without constantly looking over your shoulder. Consider someone like Jeff Bezos again. He invested heavily for years with little profit, enduring criticism and uncertainty. That level of long-term thinking is only possible when attachment to short-term validation is released. Attachment also shows up as control. People want guarantees before they move. They want certainty before they commit. But certainty is not a prerequisite for wealth. It's a result of experience. Trying to control everything freezes momentum. Wealth is built in adaptive systems, not rigid ones. Those who succeed are not those who predict perfectly, but those who respond effectively. Detachment allows responsiveness. Another overlooked aspect of detachment is identity. When money becomes tied to self-worth, every outcome feels personal. This creates fear of failure and reluctance to take necessary risks. Wealth requires emotional resilience. Resilience comes from understanding that money is a tool, not a verdict. It is feedback, not judgment. When you see it this way, losses become information instead of humiliation. Detachment also restores creativity. Fear narrows thinking. Calm expands it. When you're not obsessed with protecting what you have, you can imagine what could exist next. This is why many wealthy individuals are surprisingly relaxed about money. They respect it, but they don't worship it. They manage it. They don't let it manage them. This session is about loosening the grip, not becoming careless, but becoming flexible. When you stop forcing outcomes, you start noticing opportunities that pressure would have hidden. Money flows more freely when it's allowed to move. In the next session, we'll look at consistency, the quiet force that turns alignment into inevitability, and why small, repeated actions often outperform dramatic effort. When you're ready, say, at a certain point on the path to wealth, effort is no longer the main obstacle. Knowledge isn't either. The real barrier becomes emotional entanglement with outcomes. This is where many people unknowingly slow themselves down. They want money so intensely that every decision begins to carry emotional weight, and that weight distorts judgment. Attachment makes money heavy. When money becomes something you need to prove yourself, to feel safe, or to feel worthy, it stops behaving like a tool and starts behaving like a source of fear. And fear always shrinks perspective. You see this clearly in everyday life. Someone who desperately needs a sale often repels buyers. Their urgency leaks into their tone, their posture, their choices. Meanwhile, someone who can walk away negotiates calmly and often achieves better outcomes. The difference is not skill. It's detachment. Detachment is not indifference. It is strength without desperation. Look at professional poker players. They don't emotionally react to individual wins or losses. They focus on probabilities and long-term outcomes. If they became attached to every hand, they would make irrational decisions. Wealth works the same way. Emotional neutrality creates strategic clarity. One of the biggest misconceptions is that caring less will make you lazy. In truth, caring cleanly makes you effective. When emotions are regulated, effort becomes precise instead of frantic. Consider entrepreneurs who panic during downturns. They cut the wrong costs, abandon strong strategies, or chase quick cash at the expense of long-term stability. Attachment to immediate survival overrides vision. In contrast, founders who remain emotionally grounded make measured adjustments. They protect the core. They adapt intelligently. Detachment also changes how you view failure. For most people, failure feels like a verdict on their intelligence or worth. This makes them avoid bold moves. But people who build lasting wealth see failure as feedback. They expect it. They budget for it emotionally. Because of that, they recover faster and learn more accurately. Think about Thomas Edison. When asked about his failed attempts at creating the light bulb, he famously reframed them as discoveries of what didn't work. That mindset wasn't motivational fluff. It was detachment from ego. His identity wasn't tied to being right. It was tied to learning. This ability to separate self from outcome is rare, and it is incredibly valuable. Another hidden cost of attachment is rigidity. When you are emotionally invested in a specific outcome, you resist changing course, even when evidence demands it. You defend bad ideas because abandoning them would feel like loss. Wealth requires flexibility. Markets change. Technologies evolve. Consumer behavior shifts. Those who adapt thrive. Those who cling fall behind. Detachment allows you to pivot without shame. There is also a subtle form of attachment that shows up as perfectionism. People delay launching, investing, or committing because they want everything to be flawless. But perfectionism is often fear wearing a mask. It is attachment to control. Wealth is built in motion, not in waiting for certainty. Detachment frees you to act before you feel ready, to learn in public, and to improve while moving. It replaces fear with curiosity. This session also touches on trust in time, trust in process, trust in your ability to respond. When you trust these things, you don't need to force outcomes. You allow momentum to develop naturally. Many wealthy individuals describe a shift where money stopped feeling urgent and started feeling manageable. That shift didn't happen after they became wealthy. It happened before, and it allowed wealth to arrive. Detachment creates space. Space creates clarity. Clarity creates better decisions. This is why wealth often flows to those who seem calm under pressure. They're not less ambitious. They're less emotionally entangled. As you move forward, notice where attachment shows up. Notice where fear narrows your thinking or urgency pushes you into short-term choices. Releasing attachment doesn't mean lowering standards. It means raising perspective. In the next session, we'll explore consistency, the quiet, underestimated force that turns small, aligned actions into unstoppable momentum, and why those who win long-term rarely feel dramatic while they're doing it. By the time most people reach this stage, they believe they are missing something dramatic. A breakthrough idea, a secret strategy, a bold risk. But the truth is far less exciting and far more powerful. What separates those who eventually become wealthy from those who almost do is consistency. Consistency is the invisible engine of wealth. It doesn't feel impressive while it's happening. There are no emotional highs, no instant rewards, just repetition. And that is exactly why most people abandon it. Humans are drawn to novelty, not continuity. We like beginnings more than we like maintenance. But wealth is built in maintenance. Think about professional athletes. Talent may get them noticed, but consistency keeps them relevant. The ones who last aren't those who train intensely once in a while, but those who show up daily, regardless of mood. Money works the same way. The market doesn't reward intensity. It rewards reliability. Consistency turns intention into identity. When actions repeat, they stop requiring motivation. They become automatic. And once behavior is automatic, results compound without constant effort. This is why habits outperform goals. Goals end. Habits continue. Look at real-life examples. A person who invests a small amount regularly often outperforms someone who waits for the perfect moment to invest big. A creator who publishes consistently builds trust and audience, while a brilliant creator who posts sporadically remains invisible. Wealth accumulates where trust accumulates. Trust from customers, trust from systems, trust from time itself, and trust is earned through predictable behavior. Another reason consistency is underestimated is because early results are invisible. In the beginning, effort seems to disappear into nothing. This creates doubt. People ask themselves, is this even working? But what's actually happening is accumulation beneath the surface. Consider bamboo. For years, it shows no visible growth. But underground, roots are spreading. When it finally breaks the surface, it grows rapidly. To someone unaware of the process, it looks sudden. In reality, it was inevitable. Consistency creates inevitability. In business, systems become efficient only after repetition exposes weaknesses. In investing, compounding becomes visible only after time passes. In skills, Mastery appears only after enough cycles of practice. This is why consistency requires faith, not blind belief, but trust in process. Consistency also reduces emotional volatility. When action is scheduled and routine, emotions lose control. You don't negotiate with yourself daily. You just execute. This protects you from burnout and impulsive decisions. Most people rely on motivation. Wealthy people rely on structure. Structure carries you when motivation disappears. There's also a humility in consistency. It accepts that greatness is not achieved in bursts. It is built in layers. Day after day, decision after decision, often unnoticed. Even massive fortunes are rarely the result of one move. They're the result of many aligned moves repeated over time. This session is a reminder that if you have clarity, patience, and detachment, consistency is what converts them into results. Without consistency, everything else remains theoretical. You don't need to do extraordinary things. You need to do ordinary things extraordinarily well for a long time. In the next session, we'll explore the final transformation, stewardship, how wealth stays, grows, and multiplies only when it's managed with responsibility, humility, and long-term vision. This is the stage where wealth stops being something you chase and starts becoming something you hold. And that shift is far more demanding than most people expect. Many can make money. Far fewer can keep it, grow it, and allow it to outlive them. This is where stewardship comes in. Stewardship is the mindset that turns wealth from an event into a legacy. Up to this point, the journey has been about creation, usefulness, leverage, identity, focus, patience, detachment, and consistency. Stewardship is about responsibility. It asks a different question. Not, how do I make more? But how do I manage what exists wisely? This is where many stories of sudden wealth collapse. Athletes, entertainers, lottery winners, people who receive large sums quickly often lose it just as fast. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because they lacked stewardship. Money arrived faster than their ability to govern it. Wealth magnifies who you already are. If you're impulsive, money amplifies impulsiveness. If you're disciplined, money amplifies discipline. If you avoid responsibility, money increases avoidance. Stewardship requires emotional maturity. Look at someone like Warren Buffett again. His greatest strength is not picking stocks. It's temperament. He treats money with respect, patience, and long-term vision. He doesn't chase trends. He doesn't react emotionally. He protects capital first, then allows it to grow. This is a critical distinction. People obsessed with growth often ignore protection. But wealth that isn't protected is temporary. Stewardship starts with understanding that money is stored effort. Every dollar represents time, energy, and decisions, either yours or someone else's. When you respect that, waste becomes uncomfortable. This doesn't mean living in fear or extreme frugality. It means intentional allocation. Where money goes reveals values. Those who steward wealth well align spending with purpose. They invest in things that grow, protect, or improve life. They avoid habits that silently drain momentum. One of the hardest parts of stewardship is resisting lifestyle inflation. As income increases, so do temptations. Bigger homes, better cars, more visibility. None of these are wrong. But when spending grows faster than structure, wealth becomes fragile. True wealth creates margin. Margin is what allows calm during crises. It allows choice. It allows generosity. Without margin, high income still feels stressful. Another aspect of stewardship is humility. The recognition that wealth is never entirely self-made. Timing, systems, people, and opportunities all play a role. This humility keeps ego in check and learning alive. Ego is one of the greatest threats to wealth. Ego resists advice. Ego overestimates skill. Ego underestimates risk. And when ego leads, stewardship disappears. You see this in investors who abandon proven strategies because they believe they're smarter than the market. You see it in entrepreneurs who scale too fast to prove something. You see it in individuals who ignore fundamentals because past success made them overconfident. Stewardship also includes governance, creating rules for yourself. Wealthy individuals who last often have personal frameworks, spending rules, investment principles, risk limits, decision filters. These are not restrictions. They are protections against emotional decision-making. Rules protect you from your worst impulses on your best days. Stewardship also changes how you think about time. Short-term gains lose their appeal. Long-term stability becomes more attractive. You begin to think in decades, not months. This is where wealth becomes quiet. No need to impress. No need to rush. No need to prove. Just alignment. Another overlooked element of stewardship is education, continuous learning. Markets evolve. Laws change. Technologies shift. Those who steward wealth stay curious. They adapt. They ask questions. They surround themselves with people who challenge them. Isolation is dangerous at this level. Wealth creates distance from ordinary feedback. That's why strong stewards intentionally stay grounded. They listen. They observe. They remain students. Stewardship also extends beyond money. It includes health, relationships, and reputation. Because wealth without these collapses inward. Many people lose wealth not through bad investments, but through broken focus, poor health, or damaged trust. A steward protects the whole ecosystem, not just the bank account. At this stage, wealth becomes less about accumulation and more about alignment. You begin to ask, what is this for? And that question changes everything. Wealth with no purpose becomes hollow. Wealth with direction becomes powerful. This session is not about becoming cautious. It's about becoming capable. It's about earning the right to keep what you build. In the final session, we will bring everything together. How this single principle, when understood deeply, makes money feel less like a struggle and more like a natural byproduct of how you think, decide, and live. This is where everything converges, not as separate ideas, but as one operating principle that quietly governs wealth in every form and in every era. By the time you reach this point, it should be clear that money was never the real subject. Money was the symptom, the outcome, the feedback. The real principle is alignment over time. When usefulness, leverage, identity, focus, patience, detachment, consistency, and stewardship align, wealth stops feeling like something you chase and starts feeling like something that follows you. Most people spend their lives treating money as the goal. But money cannot be chased directly for long. It becomes stressful. It becomes desperate. It becomes unstable. Wealth only stays where the system producing it is healthy. This is why people who win once often lose later. They reached money without building alignment. The outcome arrived, but the structure wasn't ready to hold it. Alignment means your actions, decisions, emotions, and time horizon all point in the same direction. When they don't, money leaks. Think about someone who earns well but spends emotionally, or someone who builds a business but hates the responsibility that comes with growth, or someone who invests wisely but panics under pressure. These are misalignments, and misalignment always creates friction. Friction slows wealth. Alignment accelerates it. This is the part most people skip because it requires honesty. Not hustle, not tactics, honesty. Are you building something you secretly want to escape from? Are you chasing money to avoid a deeper discomfort? Are your habits aligned with the future you claim to want? Wealth exposes contradictions. This is why money amplifies character. It removes excuses. It reveals what was already there. Look at individuals who sustain wealth for generations. Families that manage money well over decades don't do anything magical. They simply maintain alignment. Values are clear. Rules are respected. Decisions are long-term. Ego is managed. Contrast that with families where wealth disappears in one generation. Spending without stewardship. Status without structure. Freedom without responsibility. Money didn't fail them. Misalignment did. Alignment also explains why some people seem lucky repeatedly. Opportunities find them. Timing works in their favor. People trust them. This is not random. It's the result of consistent alignment that compounds into reputation, network, and positioning. When your behavior is predictable in the best way, the world responds. Alignment creates credibility. Credibility creates opportunity. Opportunity creates wealth. Another overlooked truth is that alignment reduces internal conflict. When your choices are coherent, decision-making becomes easier. You stop arguing with yourself. Energy that was wasted on doubt becomes available for creation. This is where money starts to feel lighter. Not because you have more of it, but because it no longer contradicts who you are. At this stage, wealth becomes a byproduct of how you live, not a reward you negotiate for. You make decisions based on principles, not fear. You invest in things you understand. You say no without guilt. You wait without anxiety. Time becomes your ally. People often ask how to think like the wealthy. This is the answer. They don't obsess over money. They obsess over alignment. Money simply reflects how well the system is functioning. This is also where comparison loses its grip. When you're aligned, other people's outcomes stop threatening you. You understand that paths are different, timelines are different, and success is not a race. This emotional independence is a form of wealth on its own. One of the most powerful shifts at this stage is how you relate to uncertainty. You no longer try to eliminate it. You design around it. You build buffers. You diversify. You stay adaptable. Uncertainty becomes manageable, not terrifying. This is the difference between fragile wealth and resilient wealth. Fragile wealth depends on conditions staying perfect. Resilient wealth survives volatility, and resilience only comes from alignment. Another crucial element here is legacy thinking. Not legacy as ego or monuments, but impact over time. You begin to think beyond yourself, beyond immediate gratification, beyond visibility. Wealth that outlives you requires decisions that inconvenience you. It requires restraint when indulgence is possible, patience when speed is tempting, humility when praise is offered. These choices rarely look impressive in the moment, but they compound quietly into permanence. At this level, money becomes deeply boring in the best way. Predictable, stable, purposeful. The drama is gone. The stress is optional. And that's the real reward. Not luxury, not status, not numbers on a screen. Freedom of attention. The freedom to think clearly. The freedom to choose deliberately. The freedom to respond instead of react. This is what people actually want when they say they want money. And here's the final truth. If you truly understand this principle, money stops being a challenge not because it disappears as a problem, but because you no longer fight it the wrong way. You stop trying to force outcomes. You stop ignoring fundamentals. You stop betraying alignment for speed. You become someone money can stay with. That is why wealth becomes inevitable. Not guaranteed on a schedule, not dramatic in arrival, but stable in presence. Because when alignment is real, time does the rest. If you have stayed through every session, what you've really done is something far more valuable than learning about money. You've learned how wealth actually behaves, and more importantly, how it responds to the person you are becoming. This audiobook was never meant to give you tricks, shortcuts, or promises. Those fade. What lasts is understanding. Money is not a reward handed out randomly. It is not a measure of intelligence, morality, or luck. It is feedback. It reflects how well your thinking, decisions, emotions, and actions are aligned over time. When that alignment is weak, money feels slippery, stressful, and inconsistent. When alignment is strong, money feels predictable, calm, and manageable. This is why some people work harder and struggle longer, while others appear to move forward with less friction. It is not because they are better. It is because they are aligned. Throughout these sessions, one truth has quietly repeated itself in different forms. Wealth is not built by force. It is built by structure. Force creates burnout. Structure creates inevitability. Usefulness gave you value. Leverage allowed that value to travel beyond your time. Identity decided how much of that value you were willing to hold. Focus concentrated your energy. Patience allowed compounding to begin. Detachment removed emotional distortion. Consistency turned effort into momentum. Stewardship made wealth stable instead of temporary. None of these elements work alone. But when they come together, money stops being something you chase and becomes something that follows you naturally. One of the most dangerous lies people believe is that they will figure it out later. Later is expensive. Later costs time, stress, and miscompounding. The earlier alignment begins, the lighter the journey becomes. Not easier, but clearer. This clarity is what separates those who feel constantly behind from those who feel steadily ahead. Even when challenges arise, you may still face setbacks. You may still experience loss. You may still feel uncertainty. Alignment does not eliminate difficulty. It changes how difficulty is handled. Problems become solvable instead of overwhelming. Decisions become deliberate instead of reactive. Fear loses its authority. At this stage, wealth is no longer about accumulation. It is about stewardship of attention, energy, and choice. Money becomes one part of a larger system that includes health, relationships, reputation, and peace of mind. When those elements are respected, money integrates smoothly. When they are ignored, money destabilizes everything. This is why true wealth is quiet. It does not demand validation. It does not rush. It does not panic. It waits, grows, adapts, and endures. You'll notice that people who reach this stage speak differently. They ask better questions. They are less impressed by appearance and more attentive to fundamentals. They don't argue with reality. They design around it. This is not a personality trait. It is a trained way of seeing. If there is one lasting takeaway from this entire audiobook, let it be this. Money becomes easier when you stop trying to control it directly and start mastering the conditions that allow it to exist peacefully in your life. Chasing money creates tension. Building alignment creates flow. And flow, sustained over time, produces results that effort alone never can. You don't need to become someone else to build wealth. You need to become more consistent with who you already are at your best. You need to remove contradictions between what you want and how you live. You need to respect time, because time is the silent partner in every fortune. Wealth is not fast, but it is fair. It rewards clarity. It rewards patience. It rewards responsibility. And once it recognizes these qualities in you, it stops resisting and starts responding. If you understand this principle deeply, money will never again feel like a mystery, an enemy, or a constant struggle. It will feel like feedback you can read, manage, and improve upon. From this point forward, the path is no longer hidden. It is simple, but not easy, and that is exactly why it works. Thank you for listening, for staying present, and for choosing understanding over urgency. This is not the end of your journey with wealth. It is the moment it finally begins.